Welcome back, everybody. And September is a very, very, very special month for us. You want to know why? Because it's viewer request month here on the channel. And guys, I cannot thank you enough for all the great suggestions, all the great comments. You know, guys, we're trying to make this channel more about you guys. I want to make the stuff that you want to see. So, guys, if there's anything else you would like to see brought to this channel, just comment them below. Hey, and if you're new here, guess what? Go ahead and hit that subscribe. Hit that bell, click that like, and share it with your friends. The family's growing here, and it's a beautiful thing. 3 out of 4 videos this month are going to be from viewer-requested recipes. The only reason why it's not all 4 videos for the month is because we have a new segment on the channel that you guys don't know about yet. So I can't ask you for suggestions on that if y'all don't know about it yet. All right, so this particular recipe comes from our faithful, loyal viewer, Lois Hunt. And if you're watching right now, your user tag, your name on YouTube will be tagged in the title of this video when it comes out. How cool is that, y'all? We've been doing it all year long. So this one goes way back to our 100 subscriber recipe from all the way back into April of last year. She requested that I do my own spin of a black and blue steak burger and some hand-cut fries. At the time, I was not able to deliver on that. But times have changed, my friends. And we're going to do it tonight. We're also going to be grinding our own ground beef using this guy. This is the Keto Art meat grinder attachment for pretty much any KitchenAid stand mixers. I'm going to show you guys how that works in a little bit. Now, guys, I don't eat blue cheese, and neither does the wife, so we're not going to really be doing a black and blue steak burger, but what we are going to do is the best damn steak burger you ever had in your life. So before we have beef with our beef, it's time to go ahead and start working on our side dish, which is our hand-cut fries. So let's get started. In this bowl are 6 large russet potatoes, because for large fries, you need large taters, because we're not serving no wimpy fries tonight. So all we're going to be doing is cutting the ends off our potatoes so we can stand them up and cut them into planks. We're trying to keep the cuts as consistent as possible while keeping our knife at a straight angle. This is really hard and I'm not the best at it, so just do your best to keep it consistent. And from there, we're going to cut them into the familiar fry shape that we all know and love. Now guys, you don't have to keep the skins on your potatoes. You can definitely peel them beforehand. But this way is a bit easier, and honestly, I just love a good fry with the skins on. It's just something of a comfort thing. It's like a home fry and a French fry all at once. Another level of texture and flavor, but you do you. And once we're done cutting our fries, we're going to put them in a brine of water and a heavy amount of kosher salt. This is going to remove a lot of starches and give it an extra layer of seasoning. You need to at least let these brine for 30 minutes. All right, now it's time to get down to the meat of the matter, our ground beef. Now, some people have very different opinions of what makes a good steak burger. A lot of times when you go to places and you see their steak burgers, it's nothing more than a really thick patty of ground beef, which is basically a hamburger steak, pretty much placed on a bun with some cheese and some toppings. Is that technically a steak burger? I guess you could say it is because, I mean, it's really a hamburger steak on a bun, so it's kind of a steak burger. But to me, the quintessential steak burger is made from higher quality cuts of beef. Like I said in the 100 subscribers video, you can't just put any ground beef on this and call it a day. We got some nice chuck roast, we got some beef short rib, and some sirloin steak. Again, steak. Steak burger. Highest quality beef to make the best burger ever. So let's go ahead and let me show you how we're going to prepare our meats. So in this instance, we're going in with a chuck steak instead of a whole chuck roast. We're only doing this for a couple meals worth of meat. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cut them into some strips. And guys, please be diligent to find yourself a chuck steak with a good marbling. For those of you that don't know, most of your shelf-stable 80/20 ground beefs that you see in your grocery stores are all from ground chuck roast. Now, this one is trimmed fairly well, but also be diligent when you're cutting your steaks up to remove any sort of connective tissue or hard fat, as that's not going to break down. That being said, we're looking to keep all the fat on each of these steaks, just discarding the stuff that's stringy and fibrous and won't break down. That being said, we're going to cut all of our beautiful beef strips into some stew meat type chunks because it's going to break down easier in the grinder. And the next steak up, we're going to repeat the same process with, and this is just a beautiful sirloin steak. Normally you only find this cut into really lean ground beefs like the 96-97% lean. They taste amazing, they just don't have much fat, and that's going to give us an extra kick of really beefy flavor. If you don't want to use this, you can definitely substitute it with like a flat cut brisket. And now we're going on to the ultimate umami factor, the ultimate richness enhancer. This is just some beef short ribs. So the first short rib kind of threw me for a loop, so instead of trying to fight all that gristly connective tissue at the back of the rib, we're just going to cut into the rib approximately where the meat touches the bone, and then we're just going to start cutting it away. In this form, it's going to be almost impossible to remove that silver skin, even with a good boning knife like I have. So the goal here is to very gently carve the meat away from the bone, trying to keep the whole muscle intact as much as possible. Yes, we will be losing a very minimal amount of meat, but it would not be worth the fight you're going to have with the bone and connective tissue to get it out. You'll end up mangling that meat before you can even free it up. We are going to be keeping the entire fat cap from all of our short ribs, but also be diligent enough to inspect it as I just did. Some of these pieces have some silver skin attached to the top of the fat cap, so we must remove it as it's not going to break down in the grinder or give us a very enjoyable burger eating experience. So as you can see, we're going to continue chopping them up into those, stew meat type pieces, and you can see me doing something a little bit differently with a short rib here. I am consciously separating the fat chunks, which there's quite a bit of those, and the fattier cuts of short rib to the side. These are going to help us while we grind our beef. I'm going to be adding those in gradually with our leaner cuts of meat to make sure we have that desirable 27 to 30% fat content that we're looking for here. So all I'm doing now is separating each steak into its own bag. I'm going to put them in the freezer to chill for at least 30 minutes. These cannot be room temp going into the grinder, otherwise it's going to turn into a paste and clog it up. That being said, your grinder attachment also needs to be in the freezer for a while and be ice cold. Mine's been in the freezer for about an hour now. And about 45 minutes later, we have our grinding station set up. I gave my steaks a little extra time to chill in the freezer, so I've got my KitchenAid turned on to a medium speed, and we're just going to add our nice chuck steak in, just maybe like 4 to 5 pieces at a time. Then I'm just going to use my white plastic push bar to force that beef through gently into the grinder. And then we're just going to repeat this process. And for those of you that want to know and have a grinder at home, I've got this on a coarse grinding blade because it makes for an incredible burger. And for our chuck steak, we're not going to be adding any of that short rib fat to it because of all the great intramuscular fat in it. That's why it is the choice for the 80-20 ground beef. And as you can see, this looks fairly identical to what's in the cases at the supermarket. Great fat to meat ratio, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And then we're going to go ahead and start grinding off our sirloin steak exactly like we did our chuck steak. And the first thing you'll notice, if you're like me, is the absolute lack of fat. This is just pure lean ground beef. And that's not a bad thing. We need that lean to make an incredible tasting burger and give it an incredible texture. Now, after we've ground up all of our beautiful sirloin, we're going to go ahead and add in that short rib fat. And I'm only going to add in maybe about 3 or 4 pieces at a time just to see what that gives us. As with most things in cooking, it's better to do this in batches. You can always add more. If we add in a ton of fat now, that could potentially ruin our ground beef. And after we've ground up those few pieces of short rib fat, I'm going to very gently mix everything together to make sure our beef mixture is thoroughly combined and to check our marbling. This is super important, because if I see any kind of bald spots in our marbling, I'll add more. But we've got a good ratio here, so I'm going to go ahead and start processing the actual meat part of our short ribs. And since the actual protein part of our short ribs have a very high ratio of intramuscular fat, I'm not going to be using any more of those fat pieces that I've cut to the mix until I ground all of these guys up. While fat is a great thing, having too much fat is just as bad as not having any at all. We need a good balance. And after we've ground up all of our usable pieces of short rib meat, we're going to go ahead and give it another gentle toss to incorporate all of our meats in. And guys, this is very, very important. We cannot over handle our meat. We can't be too rough with mixing it. Otherwise, it's not going to have a good texture. It's just going to turn into mush. So have a very gentle but deft hand when mixing this. And as you can see, we have a very rich looking ground beef with a lot of fat and a good amount of protein. So we don't need to add anything to this. So let's go ahead and start forming our patties. And the same rules apply when making your patties. Guys, you need to hear it. Don't be rough with your meat. With a very soft touch, try rolling your ground beef into a medium-sized ball. Guys, as you can see, I'm doing more rolling than pressing. We can't use any pressure. It does not hold up like regular ground beef. And we're going to repeat this for, as many burgers as we want. Tonight we're making 6, so let's go ahead and get these cooking. And this is where things get better. Not only are they steak burgers, but they're going to be bacon cheese steak burgers. So we're going to go ahead and start cooking these off 3 at a time on our brand new cast iron Ozark Trail plancha. So we're going to go ahead and get these seasoned up with nothing more than just some simple kosher salt and cracked black pepper because we want the beef to stand on its own. Then we're going to let them sear for about 3 minutes before flipping them. And guys, we already have our first batch of fries down because the oil was ready while the plancha was heating up. But don't worry, we'll show you how to make those too. So guys, after 8 minutes, this is what our beautiful fries look like. So all we're going to do after we let them drain is hit them up immediately with a healthy dose of kosher salt. Our oil is heated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit as usual. And if you're using a basket deep fryer like I am, we're only going to be filling up these baskets about 1/4 of the way full. If you're using a pot or any other cooking vessel, please just cook them in small batches, making sure we do not overcrowd your cooking vessel. And guys, 8 minutes is what it takes to get that golden, beautiful deliciousness. Now, turning back to our burgers, it's been 3 minutes, so let's go ahead and flip them over. And it's time to see, yet again, another new toy. We're going to smash these bad boys into oblivion using a nice cast iron burger press. Then we're going to season the other side very simply with just some kosher salt and fresh cracked black pepper. And then we're just going to let this other side sear off for 3 minutes. And after that's done, we're going to flip them back over just long enough to cook through the pink parts on the top of the patty. That should take no more than 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds tops. Then we want to take these bad boys off the heat and repeat the process with our last 3 burgers. And at this time, our bacon is beautifully crispy and ready to come up. And on our final flip, we're going to be doing one last thing to kick these burgers up yet again another notch. We're going to turn down the heat just a little bit, and we'll be adding 1 slice of American cheese to each patty. And then we're going to give it a nice splash of water to create some steam action. And then we're going to use a large stainless steel mixing bowl that I just washed out as a makeshift lid. And we're going to let this cheese melt off. And after about 1 minute, you'll see me burn off my fingertips trying to remove the thing. And after I come to terms with my newly crispy fingertips, let us marvel at these beautifully cooked burgers with the immaculate melty cheese. So the only thing left to do is get these bad boys off the grill and get ready to serve. Alright guys, and a perfect burger to me is a thing of simplicity. We had the best possible ground beef we could make, so we're using the best possible buns we can get, and those are brioche buns. My favorite burger buns by far. A generous double patty. Some nice bacon on top of all of that. It wasn't necessary? No. But will it make things better? Yes. And then a light layer of homemade pickles for acidity to break through some of those incredibly fatty flavors. All right, and I'm really excited about these because I was watching them as they were cooking, and I was seeing some things that I really liked. And then, of course, some nice homemade fries. And this is the bacon double steak burger that we made from scratch. All right, the expectations are really high, so let's see if it lives up to the hype. We've done something unparalleled tonight. That is a restaurant quality burger. You got the crispy edges. You've got the juicy meat. You've got that fatty, rich, beefy flavor. And just salt and pepper, guys. Salt and pepper was all it needed. Mmm. Of course, you've seen these before. Perfect fries, perfectly seasoned. Guys, if you have a meat grinder, if you're interested in getting a meat grinder, I'll send a link in the description below on the one that I use. I got it on a Black Friday sale last year, and honestly, it was a great investment. I want to say it was only 33 bucks. Can't beat it. It's probably not going to be that price now, but I will send a link in the description. I also got links in the description for the new cast iron plancha and the grill press. Guys, this is a 13 out of 10. This beef is better than any ground beef you can buy in the store. And if you can find a little cheap, off-brand meat grinder like the one that I have that's built with decent quality, you can do things for less money than other people are spending money on. You don't need the whole grinder. You just need to find something that's going to work for you, that's one of the decent price range and does the job. Lois, I hope this makes you happy. This is making me incredibly happy. This is indeed a gourmet burger. This is what a steak burger is supposed to be. I'm going to put up the rest of that ground beef and clean up because, well, after I eat, because it's a bit of a mess. And guys, we've got ground beef left over to do other things with, and that is incredible ground beef. Short rib, sirloin, round, all together. A beautiful, I want to say this is probably close to 70 to 73% lean, which is exactly what you want. Guys, until next time, this is your boy, the Mad Chef, and this burger is, I can't tell you how good it is. You just got to make it. Subscribe, and I'll see you later.